Pittsburgh was the home of steel. Andrew Carnegie grew his empire here. Along the Mon River Valley, town after town housed workers in factories. Up to 250,000 workers toiled in these factories. Homestead was one of the hubs. Mike Stout was a steel worker at the Homestead plant and a union rep.
And when I got hired, we had a total of 8,000 workers in the Homestead mill. Our bulletin boards in the 160-inch plate mill were constantly filled with accommodations from the Navy and the U.S. government about what great steel we produced here and what great steel workers we were. Every bridge span, every major building in the United States, from the World Trade Centers to the Empire State Building, to the Verrazano Bridge, the Golden Gate Bridge, to the every major facility, the steel came from the structural division in Homestead.
At its heyday in the 1970s, the Homestead Mill employed 15,000 people. Then U.S. Steel decided to close the plant.
And the way they treated the Homestead workers, again, you have to go back to what I said initially, where the Homestead workers were the pride and joy of the steel worker family across the nation. They had accommodations from every unit and level of the government. They thought that the rest of the world would be shut down, but not them, because they were such dedicated, hardworking, good employees, and they had been, and it didn't matter if you were a good employee or you were a troublemaker or you were radical or you were a butt kisser, they axed you anyway. The way they treated people who made literally millions of dollars in profit for them I've never read anything historically as bad as the history has been between labor and management at different points, as bad as U.S. Steel treated their employees at that time.
The bitter irony is that the home of the once mighty steel mill, which fueled the rise of the middle class in Homestead, now is simply a shopping mall, waiting for consumers who no longer have the income to sustain the dream. Just a short drive up the river lies Braddock. Braddock also housed a robust steel mill. But now, according to Mayor John Fetterman, there's not much left.
The mill used to employ 5,000 to 6,000 people, and now it employs somewhere around 500 to 600 people. You know, what happens when government or Congress, whoever, lets a region fail and doesn't take care of the middle class and manufacturing jobs the way they should? We went from, 15 jewelry stores, 45 pubs, 13 furniture stores, 3 movie theaters to 0.
But Mayor Fetterman hasn't given up on at least helping the town rise from the ashes.
We try to create a balanced approach between caring and working for the community that we have, but also working to attract and bring people from outside the community here. So this past summer we had the largest summer employment jobs program for young people aged 14 to 18 in the county. We had over 100 kids, almost 100 kids working here, and it really has had a really important impact here in our community. We've seen a marked decrease in violence, and knock on wood, we haven't lost anyone through violence here in over 17 months, which, going back to the early part of this decade, we would typically have 4, 5, or 6 a year.
Partnering with AmeriCorps and the Allegheny County Partnership has helped. So has President Obama's stimulus package.
The stimulus dollars allowed us to hire an extra 30 kids this summer. So that was a nice infusion that really, and in some cases these kids were the only breadwinners in their household. I mean, and when you think about that, you got a kid making $8 an hour, working here in the summer for 30 to 35 hours a week, is the only person in the household that was bringing home a paycheck. So you can imagine how important these kind of jobs are. And moreover, it really helps benefit the community. Overall, we've saved about 24 over 24 buildings and homes that would otherwise have been vacant and or become dilapidated. You really have to work to reinvent yourself. And whether you're a Youngstown, Ohio, or whether you're a Detroit, these issues that so ravage Braddock are the same ones that are tearing those communities apart as well, too.
Right up the river from Braddock, there's an effort to reignite the manufacturing base of the area. Maglev Inc., a company determined to introduce high-speed magnetic levitation rail service to Pennsylvania, has already gotten off the ground.
A couple of us started thinking about how we could bring a new industry, manufacturing industry, into the Pittsburgh area, and we settled on the idea of transportation, and in particular high-speed maglev. It was going to create a whole new industry with thousands of jobs, union jobs. It's a tremendous amount of steel. And then when you have a tremendous amount of steel, you have a tremendous amount of railroad workers moving that steel. You have coke plants going, you have iron ore range going, coatings. The cabling is all aluminum cable. It's all domestic workers, domestic production. It's a whole new industry that we would be bringing to this country.
So maybe the Mon Valley will see a manufacturing base grow again. Maybe steel will even return to the area. For now, Mike Stout believes that the only way to rebuild the area is with government help.
This valley in the United States needs a Marshall Plan, and we need a Marshall Plan to rebuild our industry, to rebuild our infrastructure, to rebuild our transportation system, and especially our train system in this country, and that the government should get behind a Marshall Plan like this. And until they do, all these other things, as far as I'm concerned, and many of us in the Mon Valley are concerned, are nothing but Band-Aids put over a festering sore.